Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Around the nation right here, QT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you on this Wednesday. It's hump day, it's middle of the week, and it's also the day before the 4th of July. So that's an interesting confluence. Don't normally celebrate 4th of July in the middle of the week, just about. So that's going to be fun and interesting. A little bit of housekeeping on that. We will not be here tomorrow. So I have some stuff to do, family to visit, things like that. So I will not be doing a show. I actually get to go up to my dad's cabin. So that's going to be fun. Go up to the cabin. For the people who want the kitten, I've been posting pictures on my social media of me and Kitty. He was up here helping earlier today, sleeping on my keyboard and things. So anyway, there's that. How long? And I got a question for you guys. How long does it normally take for a cat that's been here for a while to get used to the other cat? So, like, I'm having this issue, right, where our big cat just likes to corner him and just sit there and stare and hiss if he gets too close and bat him. So, I'm still trying to figure that out. Hopefully it doesn't take long for them to get used to each other. So that's the issue that I'm having with that. But you're not all about the cat, of course. Although a lot of you are. I swear that cat's more popular than I am. Okay, anyway. We do have a lot of news to get to today. We first have, of course, Fox News asking the internet for something. And the internet, of course, gives them everything that they don't want. Love that. We then have Donald Trump's ridiculous military parade. News on that. Then we also have fake Americans. Fake Americans showing up in Trump ads. You're going to love that story. That's awesome. Then, of course, we've got AOC versus Kellyanne Conway on the border. Then we've got Hickenlooper, his campaign. Hilarious news on that one. And then we have a rape story that will infuriate you. Yeah. So hang on to your belts on that one. Maybe do a little seat belt. Strap in, brace for impact, as Jank likes to say. All right, guys. So here's what we're going to do. I want to thank some patrons first before I get into the show. So I want to thank Scott Harch, Ryan Lowe, David Leclerc, Andrew Harbin, and Dave Stairs. So thank you to those patrons, patreon.com/TYTNation. That's how we can continue to do the show. Independent progressive media, if you want to support it, patreon.com. I need your support more than ever, as usual. We want to get to a point where we don't have to rely on advertising. Another way to help the show, of course, is to go through our membership on the YouTube page as well. So that's another great way to support the show. Either way, you help us stay on the air. All right, anyway. So now let's dive in here and hold on here. Yeah, and look, if your comment gets flagged, it's not me. I'm actually trying to unflag your comments. So, it's not my fault. It's the auto moderation. It's weird. Okay. Anyway, so and before, of course, we go any further, please like and share the stream. Very, very important that you do so. That helps out a lot. Okay. Now, let's get into the show. We'll start out with something fun and ridiculous. So now the 4th of July is coming up. It's actually tomorrow. And that is a celebration, of course, of America and the birth of our great country, right? Now, there's an interesting phenomenon that's happening. When you ask people if they are proud to be an American, especially under President Trump, the numbers aren't really all that great. Now, of course, when you ask the question, hey, are you proud to be an American? About 70% of respondents say, yeah, of course I'm proud to be an American. But only 45% are extremely proud to be an American. Now, this is the results of a Gallup poll, right? So now you're like, whoa, 45%, extremely proud to be an American. Well, okay, that's pretty bad, isn't it? Yeah. It's actually the lowest since the question was first included in polls in 2001. Now, to illustrate how far we have fallen, between the years of 2002 and 2004, 69% of Americans felt extremely proud. Extremely. And then, of course, you can extrapolate that number is even higher for just people who are just proud to be an American. So now, let's go to Fox and Friends. We're trying to figure out why. So, what did they do? They decided to ask the internet. Be careful what you wish for. You're going to get it, especially if you ask the internet. Can you guess what the responses would be? Well, you're probably right if you guessed that a lot of it was just mocking. Now, let me go to some of these responses, which are great. Linda Lou says, the liar in chief, maybe? That might be I don't know. I think that would be a pretty safe bet. But there's more. Sweater Weather Underground says, what about the concentration camps? You know, the ones that were kind of running at the border? Yeah, those might be a reason to not be proud of being an American under Donald Trump. Remember the Radis just kind of goes all out and asks, where do I effing begin? Great. M says, really? You don't know the answer? Well, there's no hope for you. Bless your heart. Well, that's nice at the end. Now, Abby Rivera gives a more pointed answer. Says, I believe in a democracy. I'm a patriot. But, yes, that's a but. I will hang my flag on high the day the narcissistic rapist con man is out of office. Thanks for asking. Regina says, are you kidding? Are you proud of children in cages, people not being able to afford drugs, our closest allies being dissed while tyrants are fawned over? The ultra-rich are pitting the poor and the middle classes against each other, and it's working. Well, you have to understand, it's Fox News, it's Fox and Friends. Of course they're proud of it. Of course they look at the children in cages and go, nailed it. Exactly. And then, of course, prescription drugs. Well, that makes Big Pharma a lot of money. Big pharmaceutical companies, of course, donate to a lot of politicians, both left and right. And then, of course, Kim Jong-un. I mean, look, Tucker Carlson was recorded in a phone call saying, hey, look, sometimes leaders, you just got to kill your own people. I mean, sometimes you just have to. I'm not trying to defend anything, but, it's just part of being a leader is murdering your own people and stuffing them into concentration camps. Yeah, no, it's actually not. There's more. Protect the Truth says, probably the traitorous president who appears to be compromised by foreigners the way the founders feared. And who those foreigners are, I mean, basically anybody who gives Donald Trump money. Saudi Arabia, Israel, Russia, whatever, right? If there's something in there for Donald Trump, well, then he's all about it. Now, GWO says, it's a tough call, but I'll give it a shot. I theorize that it has something to do with a sociopathic, malignant sexual predator, narcissist running around the White House and the world, spreading racism, hate, xenophobia, and greed while enriching himself and endangering others. Kami Koala, with a very simple answer, probably all the fascism. Which is kind of funny, right? So, I mean, just getting to that answer, right? So now Fox News is always saying, oh my God, we hate Antifa, right? Well, what does Antifa stand for? Anti-fascism, right? Now the group itself, look, sometimes they do things that you definitely shouldn't do violence, and we're against that, right? But at the same time, if you're against anti-fascism, then you would be pro-fascist. We're all supposed to be anti-fascism. And we are continuing to creep closer and closer to actual fascism. Now, JJ says, I'm going to blame Obama's tan suit. Oh, that's a twisty twist I didn't see coming. Yes, the tan suit. It's all Obama's fault. Thanks, Obama. It's a good one. Cat War 2019 says, I'm going to go with the fact that you brainwashed my parents' generation to thinking concentration camps and destroying the planet is okay. It's really going to end well for society. Thanks, Rupert. And that's a response, a reference to, of course, Rupert Murdoch. And finally, Ice Flame 12 was something obvious. Only Fox and Friends would be dumb enough to ask the internet this. How many times, right? How many times is somebody going to go and, from Fox News, the far right, going to go on Twitter and get absolutely destroyed? I think yesterday there was a hashtag AOC resign, and it was mostly leftists making fun of conservatives who want Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to resign. Now, when it comes to the internet, man, right-wingers just continue to get destroyed on it. And I am all for it. Okay. Now, let's move into the parade. All right. Okay, here we go. Now, President Donald Trump wants you to pay for his ridiculous military parade. Now, according to the Washington Post, the White House, the National Park Service is now having to divert about $2.5 million in fees gathered from parkgoers to help pay for the cost of President Trump's 4th of July celebration. Now, the White House, they said, has been preparing for the president's, quote, salute to America. On Thursday, a grand parade meant to showcase what Trump has called the, quote, strongest and most advanced military on the planet. So, now, look, there's no question that we are, of course, the strongest and most advanced military. We only spend more than the entirety of the world, what the world spends on the military, on our military. Over $700 billion a year go into our military. It's kind of a foregone conclusion if you spend that much money on your basically your offense budget, because it's not a defense budget, then yeah, you're going to have a pretty strong military, right? So that's kind of the whole reason, by the way, that we don't do military parades. And there are, of course, other reasons. The fact that it looks very, very fascist. And there are, of course, dictators that do military parades. But anyway, Donald Trump, he wants to do this. He's interested. And he's like, I want to show the military. I want to show how tough I am. All right, here we go. So now, in preparation for this, now they've got tanks coming up from Georgia. They have a planned flyover by Air Force One, as well as a promised biggest ever fireworks display. Now, look, I'm in favor of the fireworks display, but not anything else. But see, you know what this is, right? This is Donald Trump flexing his penis. That's what this is about. Now, aside from how ridiculous it is to have a military parade inside the United States, which, again, we don't do, North Korean, they do it, but it's also going to cost a lot more than what the normal celebration would cost. In fact, the Post noted that the entire Independence Day celebration usually costs the National Park Service about $2 million, right? Now, the National Park Service was directed to divert park entrance and recreation fees to help cover some of the additional costs of this year's event, according to two anonymous sources familiar with the planning. Now, those fees, and here's the kicker, right? Such fees are often used on maintenance and improvements across the national park system. So, wait. that money is used to maintain the parks, right? But thanks to Donald Trump and the Republican Party, of course, there's a lot of parks that can't do those improvements, can't do that maintenance. Why? Well, the entire National Park Service, which covers 418 national parks, has a nearly $12 billion in deferred maintenance due to a budget shortfall. Now, who's been in control of the budgets? That would be the Republican Party. They continue to cut funding for national park services, and so, of course, they're going to have a very, very low budget. And now Donald Trump is stealing even more money from the National Park Service to fund his ridiculous parade. So, congratulations, right? We don't have enough money to maintain the parks for the people who want to enjoy them, but we have more than enough money to for Donald Trump's dick flexing parade. Now, the Post reports that it's unclear how much this will actually cost, and Trump administration officials have refused to share a number, but the estimates are really, really high. The event will feature aircraft flyovers, including display from the Navy's Blue Angels, pyrotechnics, tanks, and other military hardware. And the Post also noted that officials have been scrambling to try to project an image on the Washington Monument, even though the National Park Service does not typically allow such displays. But are you going to say no to the baby? Apparently not. Now, news of the diverted fees, of course, prompted a swift rebuke from advocates for the National Park Service, people like Teresa Pierno, who's president of the National Parks Conservation Association. She told the Post that this amounted to a, quote, breach of public trust. Quote, the public pays park fees to fix national parks and for educational programs, not the president's parade. Sure, that's what we used to do with the money, but that was before we had a narcissistic man-child as president of the United States. Now we're having military parades to honor someone who was in love with Kim Jong-un. I guess it makes sense in that context. Donald Trump loves dictators, probably wants to be a dictator. I mean, he's already gotten started with the concentration camps at the border. Why not finish it off, cap it off, with a crazy military parade? We got to get this guy out of office, man. I mean, not just for this, of course, but for so many actual things, actual ways that he is hurting the country. Okay. So let's go to foreign actors. Literal foreign actors. I kid you not. All right. Now, President Trump's re-election campaign has been caught using foreign actors to portray real Americans in his Facebook election ads. Now, the Associated Press is reporting that Trump has basically violated, through this, his Buy American, Hire American executive orders by basically hiring non-citizens to pose as real Americans for his ads. Let me show you an example of a couple of his Facebook ads. Take a look.
President Trump is doing a great job. I could not ask for a better president of the United States of America.
We worship God.
President Trump and his family and the administration are in our prayers for strength and wisdom from God Almighty. God bless.
All right, so those are official ads, right? Now, pulled right off Donald Trump's Facebook page. Now, the text in the Facebook ad, by the way, says, despite the constant stream of lies from the fake news media, my popularity is higher than ever. That's ironic, right? And so, I mean, he's the most popular president, right? Higher than ever, higher than ever. But he has to hire people who are not Americans to be in those ads. And I'll show you the proof, right? Now, the AP explains that there's one problem. The people in the videos that ran in the past few months are actually models in stock video footage produced far from the U.S. in France, Brazil, and Turkey, and available to anyone online for a fee. Oops. And look, even in the video, you can see the tiny disclaimer that says it's an actual testimonial, but an actor portrayal. Is it really an actual testimonial, though? How can you really trust that that's actually real people that are saying those things? Now, for more details on this, we go to Newsweek, who said that all the models for Turkish, Brazilian, all our models, for Turkish, Brazilian, and French companies, respectively, that supply hundreds of photos and video to the popular site iStock, run by Getty Images. Now, Getty Images, of course, caters to publications, filmmakers, and advertisers looking for professional, inexpensive imagery. According to the site, licenses for the video clips used in the Trump ads can be had for as little as $170. Now, for me, $170 is actually a lot. But for a campaign that raises millions of dollars a month or millions of dollars every quarter, not very much, right? Now, more details, right? So you saw the blonde on the beach ad, right? Tracy. Well, apparently, she happens to be particularly prolific. There's photos and videos from the French company Tuto Photos in Roubaix, France. Show her twirling in a wedding gown, walking spaniels in a meadow, getting your teeth checked at the dentist, and working in a warehouse. So all those are stock videos, stock photos, right, that you can buy. But, of course, the Trump ad makes them look like, oh, no, that's a real person. That's Tracy from Florida. And she's, oh, thanks God for President Trump. He's the best president ever. Now, the star of iStock's bearded and tattooed hipster coffee shop owner posing. That's apparently supposed to be Thomas from Washington. Isn't it ironic that they took a hipster coffee shop owner and they had a religious quote in there, right? Where it's, oh, thank God for President Trump. You know, and all that prayer stuff on a hipster guy. It's kind of hilarious, right? Now, Thomas from Washington is a fixture on the videos and photos contributed by the company GM Stock out of Izmir, Turkey. His unmistakable beard and tattoos can be seen on the image site strolling with a woman on the beach, sitting by a campfire, and pumping iron at the gym. Oops. Now, look, here's the thing. Here's the question, right? And look, I understand that a lot of campaigns have done this before. Trump did it back in 2016. Marco Rubio's campaign did it in 2012. Or, I think, no, that was 2016. Jeb's campaign also got caught doing this, using stock footage. Isn't it funny how all these Republicans can't find real people to back them? Especially Donald Trump. I mean, this is a guy who can fill arenas with supporters, right? Why does he have to buy stock footage? That's really weird. Now, what's even weirder, as I said before, is that he's not even buying stock footage from American companies. Now, it's funny because just 3 months after he took office, Donald Trump signed an executive order called the Buy American and Hire American, right? He said in this order, it shall be the policy of the executive branch to buy American and hire American. That's very simple. The goal, of course, is to promote economic and national security and to help stimulate economic growth, create good jobs at decent wages, strengthen our middle class, and support the American manufacturing and defense industrial bases. So that's the order, right? Now, there's a second order that Trump signed, and that was 2 years later. Now, this order was intended to expand his Buy American, Hire American initiative to encourage agencies to apply such requirements to new types of government purchases. Well, now, you could say, hey, look, this doesn't have anything to do with the executive branch. This is his re-election campaign, right? Okay, look, to be fair, that's true. But shouldn't you, I don't know, hire actual Americans? Especially when... Or, you know, at least buy stock footage from American companies? Especially when your entire message is make America great again? And the whole impetus behind the campaign or behind these ads is, look how much America actually loves me. But maybe, look, it's Donald Trump, so maybe you can't find an American to actually do that job. He's kind of toxic, right? But look, maybe this whole thing's a little bit like his marriage to Melania. He's got to hire foreign because he can't find nobody else to do the job. Now, does that mean we can call those ads fake news? I don't know. Maybe it's just another example of Donald Trump's overwhelming hypocrisy, that he's just not willing to hire American, or maybe he doesn't know. I don't know. But he's got a history of this, by the way. For years and into Trump's presidency, the president hired undocumented immigrants. In fact, his golf clubs employed undocumented workers as waiters, groundskeepers, and housekeepers. According to the accounts of more than 40 former workers and supervisors who spoke to the Washington Post. Now, to be fair, that is undocumented, but also these are people from other countries that are working for Donald Trump. Now, how many Trump properties have employed undocumented workers? Well, at least 5 golf courses, and for 17 years at one club. I mean, jeez, man. Even at the Bedminster Club, workers without legal status were hired back in 2002 when the course was being built. So, now, the organization has fired some of those undocumented immigrants, but that doesn't change the fact that the company exploited undocumented labor, paying them low wages, non-existent benefits, all while railing against undocumented foreign labor, and, of course, saying we should hire American, we should buy American. Well, Donald Trump, again, hypocrisy, right? But see, here's the thing about Trump. He's cheap. And so foreign labor is cheap. And for a campaign, $170 for a stock video or stock photo, kind of cheap. So his campaign is going to run the cheapest route because that's who Donald Trump is. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break. We'll come back. We've got AOC versus Kellyanne Conway, John Hickenlooper, and that rape case, which is just devastating. So comments, super chats, etc., and we'll come back from the break. We'll do that around the nation. Welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf here with you. All right, so got some good comments from you guys. Elwell says, it shouldn't come as a surprise that Trump hired foreign workers for his ads. His MO is to hire non-citizens and underpay them. He's a cheapskate. Yes, that is absolutely true. The Jinxana says, that must be the coffee shop that Jacob Wall went to and overheard millennials talking about how they secretly love Trump. Of course, referring to the last story, talking about the, of course, fake people being featured in Trump ads. That fake hipster coffee shop guy, which is great. Then the Sierra says, breaking news, Marsha Jones, Alabama woman indicted for the death of her fetus, will not be prosecuted. Well, thank goodness that is a day for justice. She's already violated once, or punished once. Losing her child shouldn't have to be punished again. So I'm glad that in this case, she was justice prevailed, basically, in that case. Okay. Anyway, so now let's get into AOC versus Kellyanne Conway. So that's a good story. Now, recently, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other congresswomen traveled to some of these border facilities that are holding migrants. Now, what they found was absolutely horrific. And there was also a ProPublica story on that. Now, what they found, of course, is that there were lots of people that were crammed into very small areas. Some women were told to drink from toilets. There were a lot of people that were that didn't have access to showers. And you also have the conditions that are ripe for disease, and you've had people that have died from the flu. These conditions are terrible. They're squalid, and the Border Patrol agents, they knew that Congress was that some Congress people were going to come look at those facilities, and they were so horrific even after they had cleaned up. So now this is terrible, right? So now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, like I said, she visited, and while she was there, first she had to give up her phone. She was surrounded by men with guns, of course, and those people had been very racist and sexist towards her, and some of the other congresswomen. In fact, according to ProPublica, a Facebook group of about 9,500 Border Patrol agents in the lead up to this visit had said some very horrible racist stuff against these congresswomen, specifically AOC. Some joked about the deaths of migrants in their care. Others discussed throwing burritos at Latinx members of Congress. I mean, it's good. It's terrible, right? One member also posted a derogatory illustration of AOC that depicted her engaging in sexual acts. You had one, of course, that had Donald Trump forcing her head into his lap. And so it just all sorts of horrifyingly gross things, right? So now after she did this, White House Counselor Kellyanne Conway attacked her on Twitter after she called that out. Kellyanne tweeted this: how many migrant women did AOC help by voting against the $4.6 billion bipartisan humanitarian aid that is for them? She even voted against the Democrat aid package. All talk, no dollars. So, okay. So immediately, it's kind of funny, right? How Republicans, they say they're, against throwing money at things, except when it comes to, of course, the military or a ridiculous border wall. But they wanted to throw money at this, which is kind of interesting. You also had establishment corporate Democrats also just wanting to throw money at this. And that's where the disagreement came apart in Congress. Now, I explained this when the bill had gone through, but let me just do a quick little recap, right? So now, when they tried to pass this border package, there were no provisions in it on how they were to spend the money, the Trump administration. No protections for people in these camps, in these conditions, and so there was no accountability. Nancy Pelosi said, I don't care. We're just going to throw money at them, right? Especially since if I don't do that, then I can't get the other moderate centrist Democrats in favor of it. They just wanted to throw money to say, hey, look, we did something, but also to not appear too soft towards migrants. It's a strange position that they decided to take, but now AOC had responded to this, charged by saying, how many migrant women has Kellyanne sat on the concrete floor with? Actually listened to? The answer is none. Her actions show that she doesn't believe all humans are worthy of basic dignity. That's why she defends and muddies the clear and indefensible. Now, did AOC not vote for that package? As I said, she did not. Progressives, all good progressives, opposed that. Why? Because, as I said, there were no restrictions placed on the money to ensure that it didn't get spent on enhancing border security, right? Now, AOC, of course, again, pointed that out. She said this, the $4.6 billion wasn't humanitarian at all, had no accountability measures for facilities that abuse children and families. It didn't fix the problem, just funded abuse. I don't believe in billion-dollar blank checks for unethical, abusive administrations, including yours. Damn. Then she said this. Are Customs and Border Patrol officers waking up women in the middle of the sleep a funding problem? Is calling migrants filthy whores a funding problem? That's actually what was reported that they had said. Is threatening violence on members of Congress a funding problem? Again, that was something that was revealed in that report. Those Facebook groups, of course, did talk about violence. And she added, no, it's not. It's a far deeper, systemic, more violent problem than that. Yes. Now, look, the reason is, of course, look at the culture, right? Look at the people who are attracted to that job. And I'm not saying every single Border Patrol agent is a racist, right? But you got to remember, that Facebook group, 9,500 people, current and former Border Patrol agents, right, that are right-wing. And that's generally who gets attracted to that job, right? Nobody in that Facebook group objected to any of those messages, the horrible stuff that was said in that group. There's only 20,000 border agents in this country. A large majority of them are pretty racist. Maybe they're low-key racist, and some are, of course, massively racist. But you can't say that a majority of those Border Patrol agents aren't attracted to that job because of that racism, because they get to abuse minors, minorities. That's the whole point. That's the whole point, and that's what they're doing. Or at best, many are completely indifferent. And that group might also contain friends and family, but at the very least, thanks to that ProPublica report, we know that a lot of them are incredibly racist, and they are treating these migrants as criminals. And see, there's a problem with that, because they're not actually criminals. Applying for asylum is not illegal. It's lawful. How we're treating them is unlawful. We are breaking the laws here. But of course, the Trump administration, they don't care. They passed the zero tolerance law. So, look, Kellyanne Conway can blame AOC as much as she wants, right? But in reality, this is a problem created by Donald Trump, right? Yes, there's migration. There's an uptick in migration, of course. And we've seen that, right? The problem is that the Trump administration took a situation that was not great, and he made it that much worse by saying, okay, look, we don't care that you're trying to apply for asylum, which you have to be in the United States. We don't care that 80% of asylum seekers come back to court to learn if they're going to, and to make their case to see if they can stay in the country legally. They don't care at all about that. They said, look, we're just going to throw you in prison just because we can, or in prison-like conditions, I should say. And you know why? It's because the cruelty is the point. The whole point is to be terrible to these people so that so it will deter more people from coming in. Hey, we're going to treat you like garbage. Some of you are going to die, but it's going to prevent more of you from coming into the country. Well, how's that worked out? Well, it hasn't. We continue to get more and more migrants from places like El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. Which, by the way, you have taken aid, the Trump administration has taken aid from those countries, which has made the economic situation even worse. So everything you're doing is making the situation that much worse. You're arresting families, prospective families, that have been willing to take these people in until they get their asylum claim checked out. You're arresting those families because most likely they're undocumented too. And so they're not going to families. You're filling up these camps, and the conditions have deteriorated. It's a man-made issue. Now, AOC had one last jab here for Kellyanne, and I love it. She said, quote, "Also, Kellyanne, maybe you should actually do your job next time and show up to a congressional hearing if you want to talk to me. After all, you ran away and skipped out on Oversight Committee last week just to call into Fox and Friends instead." Well, of course. Well, you know what that hearing was about, by the way? That was about Kellyanne Conway's constant violation of the Hatch Act. You want to live in, or you want to throw stones while living in a house made of turds? Well, then, if that's true, you've got way more problems than throwing stones. But look, the overall point is, if you start to come for AOC, you're going to get served. And that's exactly what happened here. Okay. I think we'll switch these stories around, and we'll do that rape case story. Prepare to get outraged. Now, a judge is under fire for a ruling that almost allowed a teenager accused of rape to get a more lenient sentences. And by the way, not just accused of rape, but he had been found guilty and was in for sentencing. Now, the judge's name is James Triano of Superior Court, and he had argued that a 16-year-old defendant identified as GMC was deserving of leniency because he came from a, quote, good family and had good career prospects, and also warned that the victim that, hey man, look, if you press charges, on this boy, you could ruin his life. Wow. Now the judge also argued that rape, quote, traditionally involved two or more males using a weapon to threaten a victim in an abandoned house, shed, or shack. Circumstances not matching GMC's alleged crime. Oh, so only in those situations is it rape. You have to have him in an abandoned house or a shack. How many Lifetime movies has this guy watched? Really? So now let me give you the details of what happened here. Now, prosecutors say the boy filmed himself penetrating a 16-year-old girl from behind at a dark basement party in New Jersey. Now, the victim was intoxicated, of course. So intoxicated, the fact that she, of course, could not, even at the legal age, and I'm not sure of the legal age in New Jersey, but even if she was legal age, she was so intoxicated that she couldn't give consent, right? So now, the defendant then allegedly shared the cell phone video with his friends with a text message that read, and this is the most damning, when your first time having sex was rape. You don't think he knew what he was doing? Of course he knew what he was doing. And not only that, but prosecutors say that the boy continued to circulate that video months after the alleged assault, but denied it when confronted by the victim. I mean, come on, man. He knew what he was doing. Now, the Monmouth County prosecutor's office had recommended in 2017 that GMC be tried as an adult because his actions at the party were both sophisticated and predatory. They said, quote, filming a cell phone video while committing the assault was a deliberate act of debasement. And in the months that followed, he lied to the victim while simultaneously disseminating the video and unabashedly sharing the nature of his conduct therein. This was neither childish misinterpretation of the situation, nor was it a misunderstanding. GMC's behavior was calculated and cruel. So there's that. And again, depending on the state where you have these laws, and I'm not sure, again, the age of consent when it comes to New Jersey, but in some states, circulating images like that could be considered child pornography. Now, that doesn't seem to be the case in New Jersey, but nonetheless, it's still rape. Now, Judge Troiano, however, denied that waiver to try the defendant as an adult. And here was his reasoning. He said that GMC is, quote, an Eagle Scout and comes from a good family who put him in an excellent school where he was doing extremely well. Oh, I mean, look at that boy. He's an Eagle Scout. He's real smart. He's got some prospects for the future. How can you take that away from him? Now, as for the sexually explicit messages about the alleged assault that the teen had penned, Troiano said it was, quote, just a 16-year-old kid saying stupid crap to his friends. What in the world? Again, he filmed himself raping a girl, a 16-year-old woman, right? He then sent the rape to his friends and then laughed about it. I mean, that's not stupid crap. That's, for one, a crime. Not to mention a horrifying invasion of privacy and possibly child pornography. He victimized her once with raping her and then did it again and again and again. And this judge, nope, he's worried about the rapist, not about the victim. Now, luckily, the state's appellate court disagreed with the assessment of this judge, and the decision last month reversed his ruling. The panel had wrote that the juvenile came from a good family and had good test scores. We assume would not condemn the juveniles who do not come from good families and do not have good test scores from withstanding waiver application. As NJ.com had noted a few days after that reversal, the appellate court also reversed another family court judge decision for an unrelated sexual assault case, and similarly rebuked that judge for the ruling. So good news on this one, on this panel, right? Now, that other case has some similarities to it, right? Now, according to the panel's decision in that second case, Superior Court Judge Marcia Silva had denied a motion to try a 16-year-old boy identified in court documents as ERM as an adult on charges that he sexually assaulted a 12-year-old. That is clearly, child molestation, child rape, right? The victim alleged that ERM penetrated her with force in 2017 despite her repeatedly saying no, biting him, and asking him to stop. She began to bleed, according to prosecutors, and eventually succeeded in pushing him off before running to a nearby friend's home. In her decision to deny the waiver, Judge Silva wrote that the girl's assault claim, even if true, quote, is not an especially heinous or cruel offense beyond the elements of the crimes that waiver statutes intend to target. So apparently you have to be incredibly heinous in order to get a waiver. But wait a minute. That was heinous. That was cruel. They seem to have a very warped definition of the two words. Silva wrote this, quote, beyond losing her virginity, the state did not claim that the victim suffered any further injuries, either physical, mental, or emotional. I mean, really, no emotional injuries, right? That came from a female justice, by the way. That's disgusting. Now, that same appellate court, like I said, reversed Silva's decision because they said, look, you were minimizing the victim. Now, following those appellate court reversals, the defendants in both cases will now be tried before a grand jury as adults. So hopefully we can get some justice there. Now, the Monmouth County prosecutor told the New York Times in the case involving GMC, saying, quote, this is conduct that should be punished in adult court. We subscribe to the idea that the juvenile system is supposed to be rehabilitative. But when you're dealing with charges as serious as these, again, one case, raping a 16-year-old girl who's drunk at a party, and then filming it, and then a different case with a different judge, where a 16-year-old raped a 12-year-old who was fighting him. Now, what about the judge, right? Okay, so the one judge, Troiano, in that case, and actually in both cases, right? Would you want to be someone who comes forward with a rape allegation and have those two judges? I mean, really? And that's the kind of the big picture here. Neither of those people should be judges if they can minimize that kind of crime. It's like they seem to care about, especially in the case of Troiano, they care more about the rapist than the actual victims. Now, the other the other judge was basically making the argument, it's not heinous enough. That's bad enough as it is, but I think Troiano really kind of takes the cake in how terrible his decision was. Because he definitely cared more about the future of the rapist than the actual victim. Now, what kind of justice is that? Thank goodness for people with actual sense on the appellate courts that reverse these decisions. Now, I know some of you might be saying, well, Jeff, do you want to ruin these people's lives? You want to ruin this kid's life? Why are you doing that to a 16-year-old kid? Haven't you done dumb things in the past? I've done dumb things. Rape's not one of them. Sexual assault, not one of them. Right? And when it comes to this, do I want to ruin his life? Yes, I want to ruin his life. But in reality, of course, he already ruined his own life by being a rapist and then filming it, sending it to his friends. And, of course, that other boy also ruined his own life by raping a 12-year-old. I mean, it's heinous. It's heinous. There are people in their youth, yes, that do stupid things that are learning experiences. And then, of course, there are things that people do in their youth that are completely inexcusable. Rape is one of those things, and I shouldn't have to keep saying it. But unfortunately, that's what it is. So this guy, these two judges, at least Troiano, should not be a judge anymore. He is shown to have a complete lack of understanding of, or any sort of empathy towards rape victims. That is not somebody who you can expect to give you a fair ruling. So, all right. One more story here. Let's go to Hickenlooper. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Down goes Hickenlooper. Down goes Hickenlooper. Well, sort of. Sort of. Let me explain. It appears that according to Politico, former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper is not going to last much longer, his campaign. Now, according to the article, following last month's Democratic debates, Hickenlooper's senior team had urged him to withdraw from the presidential race. They urged him to do it, quote, gracefully, and to either run for Colorado Senate seat or to pursue other opportunities, basically saying, dude, this is over. It's over, man. Hickenlooper, you got to drop out. You're not going anywhere. Now, the source said the campaign has about 13,000 donors. That's 13,000 more than I expected, making it almost impossible to qualify for the next round of presidential debates in the fall. Now, to be clear, there are debates here in Detroit that are going to happen at the end of July. He does qualify for that debate. But the debates in the fall, there's no way Hickenlooper's going to be there. There's no way he's going to last. In fact, his campaign raised just over $1 million total in the second quarter. That's about what he raised in the first 48 hours of his candidacy. And he will likely run out of money completely in about a month. If that's not grim enough, at least 5 of his staffers have left or are leaving Hickenlooper's operation, including his campaign manager, communications director, digital director, and finance director. Hey, look, man, when most of your team jumps ship and you can't raise money or go beyond 1% in the polls, it's kind of time to pack it in. And I know, Jeff, you've got a giant field. There's 26, 25 Democrats. Yeah, but dude, you got to know to pack it in. It's really going poorly for you. Now, Hickenlooper, of course, is not going to accept defeat. Hickenlooper actually publicly blamed his former staff Tuesday for his failure to gain traction in the crowded Democratic primary. He said, quote, and this was him talking on MSNBC to Craig Melvin, "We thought it was time to make a change. You know, these campaigns are long, hard campaigns, and you don't always get it right with the first team." Now, look, I got an explanation here. It ain't the team that's the problem, dude. It's you. Or actually, more of your message. Because nobody really knows who Hickenlooper is unless you were in Colorado or if you watched him drink fracking fluid. Which was, yeah. Okay. But his message is more important here because we talk about policy, right? So now, his policy is we're going to have no change. Absolutely no change. No Medicare for all, no free college, no Green New Deal. We have a climate crisis going on here, okay? And not only that, but you listen to his answer in the debate, he railed against big government socialism. He almost sounded as if he was auditioning for a spot on Fox News. He inspires about a total of 3 people, and so, no, I don't think it's his campaign team at all. It's him. It's him. But anyway, he's going to continue to blame his former team, which, by the way, a source familiar with the situation disputes the governor's characterization. He's saying that he's lashing out at political professionals around him and now surrounds himself with Colorado loyalists rather than confronting reality. Now, that, of course, is hilarious. He says Medicare for all. Not realistic. We don't need big government socialism to solve problems. Yet his campaign for president is the one that is unrealistic. That is the thing that is unrealistic. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants John Hickenlooper to be president. Now, asked about his dismal fundraising in an interview, that same interview with Melvin, he said, quote, "I'm not going to get into it until we pull the numbers together. But the bottom line is that for a small campaign like us, it's harder to raise money because we're not promising free health care or, to forgive free tuition for everyone, forgive student debt." Hey, who would have thought that not promising to do anything is not a winning strategy, right? Hey, guys, I'm going to do absolutely nothing if you elect me. Now give me money, give me your vote. Why? Why should we do that? Why? I mean, look, over half of all Americans want Medicare for all. Do you know why Medicare for all is still popular? Despite the fact that Fox News has been on and not just Fox News, but you had the Washington Post, you have the establishment media, you have CNN, MSNBC, all attacking Medicare for all as some sort of radical, socialist, horrible idea, right? Despite that, you have people you still have over 55% of Americans that are in favor of Medicare for all. That number, of course, is when you ask or when you tell them, hey, you're going to keep your doctor. You're not going to have any networks. And so, yes, you will lose your insurance, but it will be replaced with better insurance. And in fact, you can still keep your doctor. And that is the thing that people like. People don't want to keep their insurance company, right? They don't care about their insurance company. You don't care about Aetna or whatever. But what you do care about, what Americans care about, is their doctor. Will I continue to see my doctor? I like my doctor. I don't want to lose my doctor. That's where the whole PolitiFact lie of the year for Obama, you can keep your doctor if you want. That's why people were so angry with Obama. Because in some cases, not all cases, but some cases, people did lose their doctor. Because, you have all this in-network stuff or out-of-network. Now you're changing the network, these insurance companies or whatever. Well, with Medicare for All, you don't have any of that. You also don't have co-pays or deductibles. It's incredibly popular. But here you have people like John Hickenlooper saying, not interested. Not interested. You know what we're going to do? We're going to avoid big government socialism in the form of something that's deeply popular, Medicare, and we're just going to do nothing. That's our plan. Why won't you vote? Why am I not 50 points ahead? I know I kind of stole that from Hillary Clinton, but nonetheless, you get the point. People like, Hickenlooper, they don't understand that the country is actually massively progressive when it comes to issues. They're not so-called moderate centrists. They're progressive. And when you ask them strictly about policy, you don't get politics in it, you don't get political parties into it, but you ask them straight up about policy, the American people side with progressive policy every single time. Hickenlooper, again, doesn't understand that. Not only that, we're also getting crushed with student loan debt. 40 million Americans. $1.6 trillion in student loan debt. This is while the rich sit on a giant mountain of cash. It's like they're the dragon from The Hobbit, Smaug. They're just sitting on that money and breathing fire at anybody who tries to come near it. Now, that's not all the rich, of course. There are patriotic millionaires out there that said, for God's sakes, please tax us. I think it's like 60% now of millionaires that are polled saying, just tax us already. We have all the money that we could ever hope for. We have run out of things to buy. And not only that, as Nick Hanauer continues to point out all the time, that, hey, man, look, the pitchforks are coming. They're coming for people like us. So what we need to do is we need to be taxed, and to have that money go to help the American people. We want to avoid the pitchforks. Here's how we can do it. Just tax us already. Tax us already. But no, Hickenlooper says, that's fine. I don't care. You know what? The system isn't the problem. You're the problem for wanting things. How dare you have the gall to ask the government to work for you? No. We're not interested in John Hickenlooper or his campaign of no change, and neither is the country. So the sooner he drops out, the sooner he can stop embarrassing himself. Get out of the race. Get out of the race. You ain't going anywhere, John Hickenlooper. And that's for damn certain. Okay. All right. That's it. That's all I've got here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, we are out tomorrow. Please enjoy the holiday. Please stay safe. Make sure to spend some time with your pets because of the fireworks. They're going to be very loud. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and share the stream. Like and share the videos as well. And we'll see you on Friday. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation.